On this Q&A, we got questions about treatments, contracts, and tools. You don't want to miss it.
You supply the Q's and we bring the A's. It's the Form and Function Q&A show.
Hey friends, welcome to F&F Q&A 22. Thanks for hanging out. I know it's been a minute since we put this show out. We are going to be getting more consistent with it. As I've mentioned on a lot of the past episodes, we just have a lot going on with the salon, both at our current location and building out our new one, as well as building out the academy. The reason that we're on the roof today is because our contractors are still building out our new one. And so we're actually on the roof at our new salon, but we figured it was a great opportunity to be able to show off our amazing city of Chicago and just enjoy some of the fall weather before we get into the miserable winter. So we've got some amazing questions on this episode, but updates, we're working really hard. We're starting to plan next year's Form and Function Academy offerings. So we know the classes that we want to offer. Just right off the bat, I want to hear from you guys, classes in Chicago, what guest artists would you like us to feature? We really want Form and Function to be a place where you can get amazing education from us, but as well as the people that you admire and are looking up to. So in the comments, let me know who do you want us to bring to Chicago, and we'll start to look into it. In the salon, it's so crazy that the holidays are going to be here before we know it. A lot of our guests at this point probably have 2 or 3 reservations, and then we're in the holidays. So it's time to start planning that. But let's just get into the questions.
Richard wants to know, when using Olaplex as a treatment, do you think the guest would find more value to the service if you mix number 1 with the conditioner instead of water?
Richard, this is a great question, and I think that as our salon industry grows and looks for new opportunities, treatments, the door is wide open on treatments. In European markets, they do a lot better with treatments than America does because they are building them into more of a spa-like atmosphere. So that being said, for those that maybe aren't familiar with all the possibilities with Olaplex, if you dilute Olaplex number 1 with water, it can become a standalone treatment as opposed to having to add it to lightener. This, however, to me is an example of giving our guests TMI, too much information. The guest doesn't need to know what's going into their service. They just need to know what the benefits are, what are the features of it. And so if we're doing this treatment, it's not the water or the conditioner that's the value that the guest is buying. Olaplex is the value, right? That's what's going to accomplish the needs of what they're trying to do. And so don't get caught up on what you're mixing it with, and you don't have to tell the guest what you're mixing it with. When we're at the color bar and we're mixing our color, do we describe to them the developer that we're using or what the final result is going to be? Because the pigment is the value, not the developer. So keep in mind what we should be letting our guests know and what we shouldn't. Because, again, TMI isn't good for anybody. But keep up the hustle, put those treatments on your menu, and open that opportunity for new service revenue.
Aaron says, so let's talk about mobile stations and owner supplying tools. What are the pros and cons as an owner/stylist? It's a big investment as an owner. Is it worth it?
Aaron, this is a great question. Thank you so much for asking it. I'm really looking forward to seeing you and your team and everybody at the PM Pro Salon Forum. We're actually bringing out 12 of our team members out to Michigan to hang out with everybody and learn, and we could not be more excited about seeing everybody and being at that event. To answer this, I think that there's really 3 phases of why we do it this way. First is just guest consistency. From a retail take-home perspective, if we are using something in the salon, it better be available for the guest to take home, right? As long as it's a consumer item. But if we're doing our guest's hair, we're using a curling iron, and she says, oh, what kind of curling irons do you use? If it's not the one that then I have sitting on the shelf, it doesn't make any sense. Why would I use something that then I'm not going to recommend for them to buy if that's what I'm using? So guest consistency is number 1. Number 2 is we have more people than we have workstations at our salon. So right now I think that we have 14 stations, and we've got about 17 or 18 stylists. So we're in a position where we need every workspace to be a universal workspace, not one person station. And so by us providing those tools, it allows us to have a more universal approach to where we work. People might have their favorite place that they work, but anybody can work at any station if the need arises. Lastly, and I'll call it the value proposition, which is, as the owner of a commission-based salon, I feel that it's my responsibility to be giving my team more value than what they think the commission split would be worth. All right. What I mean by that is, if you're in a salon and the commission split is 50-50, then as the owner, you need to be delivering at least 51% value of what that service breakdown is. And I think that that's where a lot of salon owners are falling to the wayside and not giving their team the best. There's a lot of different ways that we can do this. We can do it through education, insurance programs, 401k programs, or in this case, providing the tools that they need so that they can do the hair that we want leaving the salon. That to me is the most important value. Cons, there are some cons to it. Of course, the initial investment of buying all the tools, and the bigger the salon, the bigger the investment's going to be. And that could be tough depending on your size. Also, sometimes if people don't own their tools or they don't have ownership over it, then they may not take care of it in the same way that they would if they had made their own investment. So that's something to watch. Are things being dropped? Are people cleaning them and taking care of them the same way that they would? It all goes into it. To me, ultimately, the value proposition is the most important one, and I find there to be value in doing it for the team and then getting those tools into the guest hands. So I love it, and I would recommend it if you are up for making that initial investment.
Jessica asks, thoughts and recommendations on contracts with commission-based stylists?
Jess, thanks for this question. I know contracts, they seem to be a thing that some people do, some people don't do. To be perfectly honest, we don't do them. The reason that I don't do them is, one, I think that if you are going to try and do a non-compete kind of thing, or say you can't work within a certain radius of our salon, I think that they're hard to enforce, to be honest. And especially in today's world where you got a lot of people doing freelance stuff and going out on their own, and then you got to get into like legal things. To me, it's more headache than what it's worth. At the same time, in terms of doing a contract, I'm not going to ever sign anybody to a contract and say, look, you're here for 4 years. Because if that person doesn't want to be here after a year or a year and a half, I don't want them hanging around for the next 2.5 years just because they have a contract. So to me, a contract is just not my style, and so I wouldn't do it. I would rather put that energy into making the place, making the culture inviting and welcoming, and wanting to build a business that people want to be a part of and stay a part of. Right? Delivering a career path that people can continue to excel and get to that next level. If I'm going to try and put on a different hat, if I were to do a contract, I would probably tie it around some sort of education system. You have to pay us back for the trainings that we put you through the last 6 months or the last year that you were part of this. That would be how I would do it if I were to do it, because I feel like that is, you're able to quantify that and say, look, here's what we invested in you. You're now leaving. We need that investment back. So that's how I would do it if I were to do it. But again, I don't really like them in the first place. I feel like it sets to me a bit of a negative tone. So this was FNF Q&A 22, guys. I appreciate you hanging out, watching the show. I would love it if you'd share it with your stylist friends. We do have a lot of new video series coming up soon. All right, we're going to have a great business breakdown that we call the P7 series. 7 different ways for you to analyze your business and your salons. We also are going to be having a new video on Tuesdays, #HowTuesdays, where you can check out and get new tips, either business, styling, cutting, color, something, but it'll be how-tos on Tuesdays. So as always, I'm Benjamin J. You can find me online, many different social media. Love to connect with you, and we'll see you on the next episode.